In the height of the pandemic, a daily walk around a pond in a local arboretum on wooded paths surrounded by the sounds of nature brought great solace. The trail that I still enjoy walking begins along a paved brick walk made of squares given by members of the community. You've seen such squares, I'm sure. The entry brick became a touchstone. It reads, "Peace is like a garden. It takes work, but in the end, there is such beauty." Peace is like a garden. It takes work, but in the end, there is such beauty. Even now, walking this trail evokes those days during the pandemic fraught with uncertainty, where the simplicity of a garden stroll brought such grounding. And this week, I found myself thinking a lot about how much a gift and a blessing we enjoy in peace, and how much we take it for granted until its very existence comes into question. Peace is like a garden, and, as one clergy colleague mused, in every garden there's a snake. Serpents inspire doubt. Serpents thrive on infighting and destabilization and anxiety. Peace, keeping peace, requires regulated response to doubt, destabilization, and division. Contemplative attention to compassion cultivates the earth for growing peace. Ask Will Duncan, ask Trinity Spiritual Center, and those who enjoy spending time in Trinity's meditation room. Ask anyone who spends time meditating and tending to mindfulness and taking time to pause. Given global unrest and local challenges, practices of meditation and mindfulness offer essential lifelines. Together, we channel spiritual attentiveness and overcome obstacles with greater strength. Meditation may be more essential now than ever, given a superabundance of urgent information. As is often discussed in the Quinn household, we are all susceptible to the draw of devices developed and designed to capture our attention, especially with elementary and teenage children tempted to hide how much device time has been spent. It helps to ask, why conceal or deny what will surface anyway? Rather than succumb to shame or embarrassment or deny distraction, acknowledge challenge and ask for help. Own error, embrace mistakes, work together toward resolution. As we say in the College for Purity at the opening of every Eucharist service, God, from whom no secrets are hid, sees everything. Why waste energy hiding what God already sees? And how human that we try. How quickly we forget how much God loves us and forgives us. As we discussed last week, every time we celebrate the Eucharist, we recall that we are better than our worst mistakes. Jesus atones for our inclination to mess up and saves us, if we accept that saving, from an endless mire of guilt. Jesus intercedes for us, as we hear and sang that Moses did for the Israelites in today's psalm. Moses convinces God to change his mind about unleashing his wrath on his disobedient people and to focus only on God's wrath without marveling at God's mercy is to discount story after story about the power of God's love. Before gathering to share bread and wine and recall Christ's body broken for all of us, we hear a passage from the gospel. And remember, the gospel, the word gospel means good news. We remember how Jesus humbled himself to show us the way. Jesus' perfect sacrifice makes our flaws beautiful. Our work is to behold ourselves beautiful, beloved, blessed, and broken. And beholding beauty and belovedness and blessedness takes a lot of inspiration in weeks when ugliness occupies airwaves and threats and fear looms. Beholding beauty in the ordinary and finding fullness in broken vessels is our work. Artistic traditions throughout the ages lead us back to the wisdom of integrating flaws. There's an Irish proverb I won't try to pronounce in Gaelic that translates, there is no craftsman without a flaw. There's no craftsman without a flaw. In Japanese culture, the presence of flaws makes objects more beautiful. This is described by the Japanese word wabi. And the Japanese word for how aging reveals beauty, I love that. Aging reveals beauty is shibui. The temptation to hide mistakes and disown flaws is to neglect true beauty. In the words of a wise piano teacher, a suppressed mistake is unfinished business. Honest mistakes, he writes, give texture to the act of learning. Indeed, mistakes have much to teach us. Owning and sharing them offers others opportunities to learn as well. So much about modern culture tempts us to drive others away with imaginary, superficial, put-on perfection. To barter in the currency of secrets and buried flaws is to ignore an invitation to a banquet where the good and the bad show up together for a feast intended for everyone. And there's really good news in that tough story that we just heard. The banquet is for everyone, and to embrace our imperfection is to attend that banquet appropriately attired in joyful humility. At God's feast, we offer ourselves broken and beautiful like Japanese works of art. In God's kingdom, we are invited to lasting peace and an abundant feast. We are invited to admit flaws, our own and others, to accept Jesus' sacrifice, to embrace vulnerability to anxiety, distraction, temptation, to allow Jesus to shoulder our burdens, and to work together, broken as we are. In short, the invitation is to become far more beautiful. And that invitation is already within our reach. When behemoths like United Illuminating or terrorists like Hamas threaten the beauty that we hold most dear, stand firm. Conquer hatred with every act of love. Resist temptations to turn against one another in infighting, finger-pointing, shame, complaint, or retaliation. Arrive at God's banquet wearing the wedding robe. Behold beauty in flaws. Listen to the wisdom of Paul's letter to the Philippians. Be of the same mind in the Lord. Help one another struggling side by side in the work of God's good news. Rejoice in the Lord always. Behold and count blessings. Let your gentleness be known to everyone. The Lord is near. Do not worry about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let requests be known to God. And the peace of God, which passes all understanding, will guard our hearts and minds. Peace is like a garden. It does take work, and in the end, there is such beauty.